Coming to you from a galaxy far, far away. Your podcast, Everything Star Wars, with your host, JG.
Good morning, everyone. This is your host, JG, with Everything Star Wars. At the time of this recording, it is early Wednesday morning, right before celebration, right before my trip to Hershey. And man, whew, so much is going to come out in the next couple of days. I can't wait. There's so much excitement in the air. You know, the the Rebels panel, the Last Jedi panel, the 40 years celebration panel. Man, it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. But today is not going to be a normal episode. If you're listening, this is the episode for Friday. And so normally on this, we would have a full out episode with news, theories on this date discussion. But today, on April the 14th, when you're listening to this, we are going to be doing our first novel review because we are going to be doing a roundup of everything that has happened on Star Wars Celebration on Monday. Yes, again, that's going to be Monday. I believe that's like the 17th, if I remember correctly. Um, Dates, yeah, 17th. So, also, before we get into that, I want to give a huge shout out to my buddy Thomas. Thomas did that intro for me. It was amazing. I was able to put it together. I used his voice. I asked him. I know that he had a wonderful voice, and it just makes it so much better. So again, thank you, Thomas, so much for doing that for me. All right, guys, we're going to get into this book. The book that we're going to be getting into today is Lost Stars. This is the book that so many canon junkies, so many people who have read the Star Wars books will say that this is the book to read. That this is your entry point. That this is one of the best. And I think it's been considered to be the best all the way. I think the only book now that's starting to challenge it seriously is Thrawn. Now, when Bloodline by Claudia Gray came out last year, that book really impressed a lot of people. That book really, a lot of people liked Bloodline. I really did too. And before reading Lost Stars, that one was way up there. That one, we'll talk more about, Bloodline in another review. But Bloodline was amazing. But Lost Stars is just something so for lack of better words, it's so Star Warsy. It's a real story, and it's an amazing because they do it in a writing style for young adults. So it's not even necessarily geared towards adults. It's even kind of a romantic story. This book captured me so much into the story when I felt like I was there. I felt like I was with these two characters. And so if you have not read Lost Stars, I'm going to be as spoiler free as possible. At the very end, I might get into some spoilers, but there will be a warning. So for now, we're going to just enjoy the spoiler review of Lost Stars. If you have not read it, Thane Kyrell and Sienna Ree are the main characters. They grow up on the back planet of Jalushan, and they just dream of having different lives, being part of the Imperial Academy, being pilots. They run into some very famous characters that I don't even want to spoil because even that small, very early moment was just like, wow, this is a Star Wars book. This is amazing. And it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel out of place. It felt very natural, and it just made a lot of sense. And these two characters strive to be the best that they can be, and they do a really good job. And I think it's very clear because of what's on the cover of the book. And without even spoiling it too much, but I will say this is that there does come a point where these two characters who are best friends hit a fork in the road. Something happens that causes divide and sides are chosen. and they might not be the same side. The story really was written very well. It was written by Claudia Gray, who also wrote Bloodline. So, would you look at that? Probably considered two of the best books, right? Well, other than Thrawn right now. I mean, Thrawn is probably going to be number one for a lot of people, and then it's going to be Lost Stars, and then it's going to be maybe I think Catalyst is up there. Catalyst and Bloodline. I feel right now you're either mixing and matching Catalyst and Bloodline. I feel like Thrawn and Lost Stars are gonna be those like one or two. Like if you ask people, some might say one, some might say two, and you switch them, and then three or four is the Bloodline and Catalyst. So they've been really hitting these books out of the park really well. But that book was so darn good. It's a good size too. It's pretty long for a young adult. It's a nice small book. The cover design in it, this story takes place from 11 years before the Battle of Yavin through 5 years after the Battle of Yavin. And it ends up on a little planet that we call Jakku. So we won't go into too much there, of course, because that's like the ending of the book. But yeah, we get all eras represented almost, which is very, very interesting. I think without going too much into detail, I think it's very awesome how you get to see these events that we have seen, certain events in movies, certain scenes in movies, but we get to see it from a different point of view where you watch these Star Wars movies now and you can enjoy them. They're great. You don't need anything else for them. But by reading this book, you watch the movie and you're like, "Oh my gosh." You have that extra layer. You have that extra depth because now not only are you thinking about what's happening on screen, you're thinking about what has happened in the universe of this canon that has evolved from just the movies to TV shows to now even books that are the canon universe and even comics. And these characters now, you might not see them on screen, but they're definitely part of the action that you're seeing on screen, and they definitely have an influence of what's happening on screen, which I think is just amazing. Because for a book to come out and change how you view little portions of a movie that was made, you know, almost 40 years ago or less, is incredible writing, and it was the emotion. And I think the other thing I really did like was that the romantic aspect of the story wasn't very like in your face, like for lack of better words, Twilight or any other just young romantic novels that are very in your face and very just uh, you know the cheap and just disposable love. This is very authentic, very real, and painful at times, which allows us to reflect on relationships in the real world, which I thought was really good, and I just enjoyed it. This book is definitely one that I would recommend for anybody to read, but I think it's a great entry point for uh, people who want to get into canon because the thing is that I think it might be if, as long, people might turn it off just for the fact that it's a young adult novel. But the thing is, you can't just turn it off for that. It is I have heard full-grown men saying that this is the best Star Wars book out there right now. That this is the best Star Wars story out there right now. Again, Thrawn's probably gonna trump it, and that's okay. It's Thrawn, it's Timothy Zahn. But I think Lost Stars is gonna have a special place in a lot of people's hearts. So I ended up rating this book a 5 out of 5. I definitely think it's a highly, 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 highly recommended to read. Highly suggested. Oh my gosh, just read this book. You can actually, if you go on audible.com, if you've never had an audible.com account before, you can go ahead on there, sign up for a free trial, I believe, and for the first 3 months, they give you one free book, if I remember correctly. Um, At least that's what it was whenever I did it. And by doing that, you'll be able to get an audiobook of whatever book you want to listen to. They have all the canon Star Wars novels. They even have some of the lore, legends. I highly recommend listening to at least the canon ones. I really enjoyed them. They have full sound effects. They have the voice. They changes their voice for the characters. There's music. It puts you into Star Wars. And so for some books that might be hard to you to read because it might be slow pacing, maybe listening to it might be better. I recommend it. I've listened to quite a few. I even have done the pairing where I've read the book while listening, and it's just an amazing experience. And so do want to talk about the spoilers a little bit. So if you're not going to stay for the spoilers, I want to again thank you so much for listening. Uh, it means a lot to me, even for you to come out and listen to this small little episode of just a novel review of a book that's been out for a while now. And I just want to make sure that my channel has all of the reviews of all the novels and constantly keeping up to date with all the novels that are coming out. Again, celebrations this weekend. I'll be live tweeting, so you ESW podcast on Twitter, and I can't wait to see what you guys think is about what's happening. I can't wait to hear about what you guys are thinking is happening. I can't wait to talk about what's happening, and that will come out Monday morning. That's also pending. That should happen. Sunday is Easter, so if there is any change to that, there will be a tweet about it on Twitter. So again, thank you so much for listening. And if you are going to stay around, once again, here is your final warning.
This is a spoiler warning.
All right, so if you're still here, it means that you either A, you've read the book and you know what happens, or B, you just don't care. You just want to hear my thoughts. I just think that it's so amazing how they mm, the ending is very it's done, it's finished, but maybe there could be more. So that's what I really liked. I liked how the fact that Thane really still, even to the end, tried to save Sienna. I just thought that was amazing. Um, and just the fact that she was so Imperial focused that she just no, no. I like that. I like that she didn't quote unquote switch sides. I felt like that would have been really unnatural. She at this point was full out Imperial. She had worked her way up really high, really high. And I think we could get a sequel, or we could see these characters again in some other form. I really think we could, and I think it'd be beautiful. I think it'd be amazing. I think it's amazing how they put in, some of the moments from Empire, from moments from The New Hope, like the Millennium Falcon TIE Fighter chase. That's in the book. Tantive 4 being chased. That's in the book. Uh, the Death Stars being blown up. That's in the book. Endor. That's in the book. So much. Jakku in the book. I think another thing that makes this book so good is the fact that it focuses on new characters while still having some support characters, which is amazing. Like you have Mon Mothma, you have Tarkin, Vader, you name it. These characters are there, and the ending where I forget his name right now, but he wants to avenge Sienna's death because he thinks Sienna has died. That almost leads me to think that there's a thread for some more stories to be told. But we'll see. This is Star Wars is an open universe. There's so much story to be told, from the past, the the middle, and the end. And so, yeah, that's all my really spoilery thoughts. I didn't really have too much spoilery to go with. But I mean, I know some people, if they haven't read it, if they would have heard all that, they would have been upset. So, well, again, I already said it to the people who didn't listen to the spoiler, but again, thank you guys so much for listening. I know this episode is not going to be for everybody, but I know that for some people who do want to hear my thoughts on this book, I really did enjoy it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think you should definitely read it if you have not done it. Again, don't forget that the next episode is going to be the celebration wrap up, which will be most likely on Monday. Follow us on Twitter at ESW Podcast. Again, that's SW Podcast. Again, thank you guys so much, and may the force be with you.